Hey guys, welcome back to our demo portion of the lecture um, series. In this video, we're going to cover exercise 12-2. 12-2 deals with a drop or retain segment or add or drop decision that we talked about in the lecture portion. So I'm on page 591 and we have Regal Cycle Company. They make three kinds of bikes: a dirt bike, a mountain bike, and a racing bike. And they give us data for all three bikes and what their total sales are. If we notice, we could see that racing bikes actually has a net operating loss. So management's worried about this, and they're thinking that they might want to discontinue the racing bike line. They tell us that the special equipment that's used to produce racing bikes has no resale value, doesn't wear out. So we have three things we got to do. The first thing we got to do is we have to figure out, is there a financial advantage or disadvantage per quarter of discontinuing the racing bikes? Then we have to make a recommendation. Should the production and sale of racing bikes be discontinued? And then the third thing we got to do is prepare a properly formatted segmented income statement that would be more useful to management in assessing the long-run profitability of the various product lines. So the first thing we have to do is do a we have to make a add or drop decision, or drop or retain. There's two ways that we can do this, right? And if you remember from I think it was the lecture portion, we talked about right after we talked about the make or buy decision. We said that there's really two methods that we could use, right? We could use the differential approach, or the differential cost approach, or we can use the total cost approach. I'm going to use the differential cost approach because it's the easiest. Remember, we're only focusing in on what's changing, okay? So let's start with 12-2-A. So I have a choice, right? Do I keep the racing bikes or do I get rid of them? Well, if I get rid of, bear with me here, if I get rid of the racing bikes, is that not working? If I get rid of the racing bikes, I lose something. I lose a lot of stuff, right? I lose sales, I lose my costs, but more importantly, I lose the contribution margin. So the loss in contribution margin would be negative $27,000, because that's what I'm losing, okay? So I'm losing my contribution margin, but what am I avoiding, right? And if I look at this, I see that we have traceable fixed costs to the racing bike division or segment of $6,000. Depreciation on special equipment. Depreciation, it's irrelevant. It's a sunk cost. Okay. Salaries of the production manager, $10,000. Man, I'm going to lose that. So that's relevant. Allocated common fixed costs. Well, those are irrelevant. They're fixed costs that we incur regardless of which three bike lines we use or we produce. If we get rid of one of the lines, guess what? That allocated common fixed costs, it's going to get reallocated, okay? So I've already identified my relevant cost, or my relevant cost. So the fixed costs that I'm going to avoid are going to be my advertising, which is traceable, which they tell us is $6,000. And I'm also going to avoid paying the salary of the production manager. And that person's salary is $10,000. So in total, I can see that I'm actually going to save $16,000. So should I get rid of this, right? What's the financial advantage or disadvantage? Well, I need to compare the contribution margin that I'm losing of 27,000 with the cost that I am avoiding, 16,000. I see that I'm actually in the hole $11,000. That means if I get rid of this, I'm losing $27,000 in contribution margin. The traceable fixed costs that I'm avoiding do not offset that loss in contribution margin. So we can see that there's actually going to be an impact to the net operating income of the total company. It'll drop by $11,000. Okay, so that's, I numbered it as 2-A. It's actually number 1. So should we then get rid of the bike or the racing bike division? No. Production and sales of the racing bike should not be discontinued. Okay? So now we got to do 3. And 3 says, hey, prepare a properly formatted segmented income statement for which I copied over the wrong, good Lord, I'm so sorry. I copied over the wrong, there it is, sorry. We have to do a segmented income statement so they can see exactly what's going on, okay? Basically, all we really need to do is to point out that, hey, you have allocated fixed costs going to each division. That's incorrect, right? You shouldn't do that. So here's how we really should set it up. First, obviously, we want the sales, and the total sales are going to be $300,000. The sales for dirt bikes is going to be $90,000. For mountain bikes, it's going to be $150,000, and for racing bikes, it's going to be $60,000. Then we subtract the variable costs, right? The variable selling and administrative costs. The problem already gives us that. They tell us what it is, right? In total, it's $120,000. For the dirt bikes, it's $27,000. For the mountain bikes, it is $60,000. And for the racing bikes, it is $33,000. So now we get to the contribution margin. Let's see, the contribution margin is in total for the entire company, it is $180,000. The contribution margin for the dirt bikes is $63,000. Contribution margin for the mountain bikes is 90,000, and the contribution margin for the dirt bikes, or the racing bikes rather, is 27,000. So then we go ahead and say, okay, because we're doing a segmented income statement, we're going to first say what are our traceable fixed costs. Well, the first one we have obviously is advertising. And in total, the advertising is $30,000. For dirt bikes, it's $10,000. For mountain bikes, it's $14,000. And for racing bikes, it's $6,000. Then we have the depreciation on special equipment. I'm just going to say depreciation. In total, it's $23,000. Dirt bikes, it is $6,000. $9,000 for mountain bikes. And for racing bikes, it is $8,000. Then we have the, I'm just going to say manager salary. That's $35,000 in total. The salary for the dirt bike manager is $12,000. For the mountain bike, it's $13,000, and for the racing bikes, it's $10,000. So now we come up with the total traceable fixed costs, right? And we know it's $88,000 in total. For dirt bikes, it's $28,000. For mountain bikes, it's $36,000. And for racing bikes, the total traceable fixed cost is $24,000. Now we show the product line segment margin. And in total, it is $92,000. For the dirt bikes, it is $35,000. For the mountain bikes, it is $54,000. And for the racing bikes, it is $3,000. So we can see when we properly set up a segmented income statement and show that common fixed costs are not allocated to the product line, we just take it out of the total, and the total common fixed costs are $60,000. We can see then that the NOI, the net operating income, is still $32,000, but our racing bike division looks much more profitable because we incorrectly allocated those common fixed costs. So that's 12.2 in a nutshell. When we come back, we're going to look at exercise 12-3, which is a make or buy decision. So tune back in for that one.